This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, 14th June 2023. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this evening, kidnapped victim regains freedom 3 days after incident along Rumodogo axis of East-West Road in Rivers State. Rivers State Ministry of Education assures of free access to education for all Rivers children. Federal government to begin student loan in September-October. Lawmakers ask federal government, states to prepare for flood disasters. On the foreign scene, Italy holds state funeral for former Prime Minister Silvio. I am Constance Mega. A middle-aged man from Rumosi community in Obiakpo local government area of Rivers State, who was among 3 persons kidnapped while traveling on Sunday along Rumodogo axis of the East-West Road in Amoha local government area, has regained his freedom. But the victim, who spoke anonymously to our correspondent, said he was released today after paying ransom.
More than 15 inside bush, well loaded with AK. So what they did is to collect the other woman, the driver, or they collect the woman's phone. Then they ask the woman, how much do you have? The man said, I have 5 million. From 5 million, they do. So they press the woman. The woman now need to tax charge people up to 10,200,000. That's what they collected from the woman. The whole POS machine carry the woman cards, lock there, collect the woman. Now minding the bullet where the woman they bleed, scatter the woman jeep. No let God rescue me. If not, those people their mind they back. Now 3 of us when they kidnap. Now 3 of us will come back.
On his part, the CDC Secretary of Rumosi Community, Joseph Ibe Owote, says he has asked the police to tighten security along the East-West Road.
The Rivers State government and the security apparatus should tighten up their security formations. This thing is becoming something that we are not palatable with. How would someone going on his personal routine and at the end of the day, it's not going to come back home safely? Something should be done swiftly to curb this security mayhem. We have a lot of security checkpoints in that particular East-West Road, and these things are happening.
Scores of people, mainly his relatives, gathered at his residence in Rumosi community to celebrate his release. They also spoke to our correspondent.
The man is my good friend, is my brother too. I asked him to accompany me to my mother-in-law's place to settle some matters. On the way coming back, we reached at Odohemowa area. We saw kidnappers. They started shooting us. I escaped.
This is unfortunate that we had this news on Sunday that he was kidnapped. Where they kidnapped him, he's a territory of war they are madding inside his own village.
Our brother that just released today, it is by special grace of God. And we will also thank our Almighty God for him to come back alive. The local government chairman of Amoha local government, he should do something over the security because it is too bad.
Moving on, a youth leader, Reno Owokire, wants more youths to be appointed in various public offices in Rivers State. Mr. Owokire, in an interview with correspondent Emeka Otuka, is concerned that no youth was among the 9 commissioners that have been appointed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara. He accused Governor Fubara of recycling cabinet members of his predecessor, Nyesom Wike.
What we expect is total youth involvement in this administration. Already the way they are starting the administration, I'm not happy, I'm not pleased. Knowing that they are now emptying the previous ESCOs into the incumbent ESCO. And as we speak, of all their nominees, none is the youth. As I speak, I don't think the administration has started in a good light.
Mr. Owokire also appealed to the governor to ensure industrialization and economic diversification in the state to create employment for the youths to enhance peace.
We expect Rivers State to be industrialized and not to go and consolidate in an elephant project. Rivers people need to be employed, the civil service as well as other sectors. We need employment. As I speak to you now, a lot of business have been shut down. Let him reassure investors. Let him call for a town hall meeting between the government of Rivers State and business owners. Let him encourage farmers.
Farmers in Rivers State are calling on the government to pay attention to the agricultural sector to ensure food security and sustainability in the state. The state chairman, Potato Farmers Value Chain Association, Felix Emea, tells correspondent Emeka Otuka that the state depends on subsistence farming for food supply due to the absence of commercial farmers. where he urged Governor Siminalayi Fubara to identify with farmers in the state.
The people who are in government did not even recognize that there are people that produce food. No recognition is given to anybody. You are on your own. Who speaks for the farmers in the state? Nobody. The call is that they should recognize agriculture as a very important component part of government policy. They should recognize that there are people who are interested in farming, get to know these people, know what they want to farm, and the method that they want to use. Because it's not only knowing what to farm, what is the method they are using? Is it an effective method to produce food? The government should be interested in agriculture.
Mr. Emea also claimed that the state is experiencing food shortage, hike in price, as well as youth restiveness due to government neglect in the agricultural sector.
Multiplier effect of lack of food in the state. When we are talking of lack of food, it's not only the raw garri you see in the market. We are talking of a value chain effect on food production in the state. When you process garri, there are several things that come from cassava. We are not getting them. And this is what increases the wealth of a nation. And we are missing them. How do we grow from here? How can we increase the per capita income of our people? How can people be useful to themselves? They're getting money from agriculture. This is why we are crying. As far as agriculture is concerned in Rivers State and the entire Southern region, nothing is happening.
Away from that, the Rivers State Commissioner for Education, Chinedu Mom, says the administration of Governor Siminalayi Fubara is committed to ensuring that all Rivers children have access to quality education free of charge. Professor Mom said this in an interview with correspondent Martha Okerenkem. He said a lot is being done at the universal basic education level, and the state government is focused on reducing illiteracy to the barest minimum.
Out-of-school children will be brought to the barest minimum. At the UBE level, a lot is being done to ensure that our pupils who are in both nursery, primary, and the junior secondary schools have access to education, same at the senior secondary school level. So it is for the people to maximize or tap into this opportunity that government has provided for them. Education is free, and the government is committed to that.
Professor Mom assured that teaching aids will be provided by the state government to all public schools in the state.
Books will be provided for the students at no cost by the government. A machinery has been put in place towards it, so our students will have access to reading materials. There is also a plan of the government to ensure that all the teaching aids and materials are provided, for the teachers and the students. All these will give the students opportunities to better learning and learning experiences.
Professor Mom also said many schools will be remodeled as a way of improving educational infrastructures in the state.
The previous government embarked on the renovation, remodeling, and redevelopment of several schools in the state. This government will still continue with that exercise from where the former government stopped, so that our facilities will be upgraded. We will have computers, ICTs in most of our schools, which are not functional. We will ensure that we reactivate all these. The way the world is going now, we have gone beyond the analog era. We are in a digital era. So our children who we are producing as graduates from the various levels of school must also be very computer literate and internet compliant.
He also said there will be adequate monitoring, evaluation and retraining of teachers to ensure quality outputs.
The various boards and other organs in the ministry will have to live up to expectation. We will do effective monitoring and effective, evaluation. If you're not qualified to teach, of course, there is no business you have with our classrooms. But these are some of the things we focus to ensure we have quality teachers who will be given orientation and reorientation and retraining so that their input will be equal to the output. I'm targeting that teachers will be given orientation and reorientation on a regular, basis, at least on the contemporary teaching techniques in this era, that we can be at par with other countries and states all over the world.
Well, the State Commissioner for Education also reviewed plans to begin the digitalization of information regarding public schools in Rivers State.
We would digitize our data or information. That even at the comfort zone of your house with a telephone, you just click one or two codes and you get any information you need about any school. Where is it located? Who is the principal? Who are the teachers? How many teachers do they have? Who are the students? How many students do they have? Where are their contact addresses? So nobody will be, fooling us any longer. If we have this, it will be a step, forward towards improving the quality of education in our state.
In a related development, the federal government says it has begun putting all necessary measures in place to ensure the student loan begin between September and October this year. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Andrew Adejo, who said this while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, said President Bola Tinubu has already approved a committee made up of ministries and agencies to see to the realization of the student loan law. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, says the student loan bill, which President Bola Tinubu signed into law, has the potential of sending many students out of school. ASU President Emmanuel Osodeke stated this while speaking with newsmen today, where Professor Osodeke said the law might have an adverse effect on millions of prospective students who rely on tuition-free higher institutions of learning to acquire knowledge. Still ahead, Nigeria, India agreed to block pipeline of illicit drug flow. Stay tuned.
To thrive in a fast-changing world,
tune in to 92.3 Nigeria Info. Keep your dial locked for sustainable development.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Here to conclude their activities at the scene of the oil spill. The official report of the cause of the spill was expected today, but the zonal director of the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSTRA, Ime Ekanem, tells correspondent Suebi Oruwari that the men assigned to the Joint Investigation Visit Team have not returned from the field. Our correspondent also reports that the representatives of SPDC, including environmentalists and representatives from the community, went for an impact assessment of the oil spill on the Okulu River in Aleto. The president of Aleto Youth Organization, Mbade Kenwi, who was also part of the impact assessment team, spoke on the extent of the oil spill.
We'll go to take the coordinates of the area where they can affect. Share representative with us carried out the operation today. We are just coming out from the water. We'll still continue tomorrow. Yeah. We'll start from the point that we started. We'll get to the estate, which is also a little final estate, to Abuncha area. That is the area so far we can able to cover today. We'll cover a little Kiriwa and Abuncha.
A community representative, Osaro Prosperous, also spoke.
Time they came for maintenance, that was 2 years ago. The impact of what has happened has gone viral. The river you're seeing is very far because we have a boundary with Okushagon. This river goes to and fro. It has damaged the aquatic animals down to the boundary between we and Okushagon. Everything we have, you can perceive the nature of the environment, how toxic and how poisonous it is. And there are people living here and they should bear the cost and the consequences from it.
Now, on his part, environmentalist Fine-Face Dumnamene advised the international oil companies to always carry out proper maintenance on their oil installations.
They should take steps to remediate that environment. They should also pay adequate compensation to the people within that area. And they should also take steps to ensure that the spill point is calm and prevented from further spills. One would think that since they are diversing across the country, that they will also take steps to ensure that their pipelines that are now bursting and deflating like balloons would have been addressed and prevent any further oil spills into the fragile Ogoni and Niger Delta environment. So we expect that new spills should not be introduced into the environment because you cannot leave the tap on running while also carrying out the cleanup.
In other news now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the Narcotics Control Bureau of India have signed a memorandum of understanding to block the pipeline of illicit drug flow. NDLEA Chairman Mohammed Marwa, who signed the MOU on behalf of Nigeria, said the move represents a robust partnership in the effort to put an end to incidences of drug abuse and illicit drug trafficking in the two countries. The House of Representatives has urged the federal and state governments to prepare for impending flood disasters. But this comes on the heels of a motion of urgent importance by the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, shortly before he resigned. The lawmakers asked the government to prepare palliatives and intervention measures for Nigerians to reduce the effects. In business, following the planned indefinite strike by the Amalgamated Union of App-Based Transport Workers of Nigeria in 7 days over low fares and high commissions, one of the administrative heads of the union in Rivers State, Oje Ilebari, says the union is determined to see that their conditions are met before they call off the strike. Mr. Ilebari, however, tells our correspondent that negotiations are ongoing.
The the operation is a bit skeletal. The app companies have not arrived at a proper conclusion. Yes, they've increased the fares a bit, but they have not increased it to where we want them to increase it. We need them to reduce their commission from 25% to 10 or 15%, which is actually still going to be profitable for them. That has been temporarily hold on. We are waiting for further instructions for them because apparently the app companies have reached out and have said they should give them about 7 days to make up come to a resolution. Then further actions will be taken henceforth.
Well, some Port Harcourt residents who use e-hailing cabs for their daily movement told our correspondent that they are worried over the driver's threat to go on strike. They said it will affect their daily activities.
I'm actually a pastor. Most times I might probably have to go out for programs. I need a serene and a quiet atmosphere. So trying to go through the hurdles and to public transport might not be the best option at that moment for my personal sanity and atmosphere.
They should just reduce the commission so that riders and the drivers will now have a soft landing. On 3 different occasions I've trekked from my office back to home, but there was no ride. A trip I used to take for 700 is now about 1,500 when there is no sun. And good drivers will still not use AC and you don't blame.
This time I normally pay 1,000 naira, now risen to 3,500. So it's really worrisome.
We recall that a peace meeting between e-hailing firms and their drivers on Friday was inconclusive. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has reportedly told deposit money banks to freely float the naira against the dollar and other international currencies, where this is as the naira traded at 730 naira to 755 naira per dollar at the investors and exporters window today. The Apex Bank is, however, yet to release an official statement on the matter. The developments came just 2 weeks after President Bola Tinubu vowed to unify the exchange rates and remove fuel subsidy in his inauguration speech on 29th May. In entertainment, Afrobeats star Davido has opened up about his disappointment in himself for getting into the TV Talks podcast. The singer reviewed his regrets over the disagreement, saying that he could have handled the situation in a more admirable manner. And in sports, Brighton today announced the signing of James Milner on a free transfer from Premier League rivals Liverpool.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
Italy has held a state funeral for former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, attended by political leaders, his family, and a string of former girlfriends. Well, thousands of mourners gathered in Milan's main square to say a final farewell to the one-time cruise singer who led Italy with no prior political experience and built a media empire. There were flags, tears, and applause. And that's the news. But before we go, another look at the highlights of the major stories. On the news this evening, you heard that a kidnapped victim has regained his freedom 3 days after the incident along Rumodogo axis of the East-West Road in Emoa local government area of Rivers State. The Rivers State Ministry of Education has assured of free access to education for all Rivers children. The federal government is to begin student loans between September and October this year. Lawmakers have asked the federal government and states to prepare for flood disasters. And on the foreign scene, Italy has held a state funeral for former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi. The news was edited by Martha Okerenkem. Cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this evening. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I'm Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening.